Everybody, quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
Is back, bitches. That's right. Party is over. Let's get it going. Oh, yeah. I know. It is Thursday. What a show awaits you. You came here on a great day. I am Mark. Kim is playing hurt. She, after hosting this show by herself, she has come up with a kind of cold throat deal. But she's powering through it, right?
And now it's just even worse. Yeah, powering through. Oh. That's what we do.
All right. Well,
Kim, how are you?
I guess Kim's not so great today. Albert is here, though.
Albert, thank you.
He is the commissioner of Mark's Madness. Big Mark Madness update and big showdown in Mark's Madness. If you're new, we play drops up against each other. These are drops that the audience knows. And you can vote for which drop you think should go on to the next round, and it's just like Mark's Madness. We'll go to the Sweet 16. We'll go to the Final Four. We'll go all the way to the championships. And there are only 8 perfect brackets so far. And Albert, last time I checked, I've got one of them. That's right, everybody. I'm excited. Albert, I do have a perfect bracket so far.
You do, unfortunately, yeah. You and last year's winner, and someone who also has placed in the top 3, Sayo Jones. Sayo Jones has won the tournament before.
Sayo was the winner the first year. I don't think she was the winner the last year. Was last year the first year?
Champion.
Yeah. Anyway, we're excited about Mark's Madness continuing. I've got Gary Dietrich coming up. Gary, the political ninja, who will talk about the rising Trump poll numbers. We'll go into those. But also, I want to get to California and Gavin and the pivot Gavin's doing from national politics to California politics and handling the California crises. So prepare to hear a really great breakdown of what's happening with Gavin Newsom from Gary Dietrich. Bottom of the hour, just after Kim's news, it's Thursdays. It's Thursday, and Thursdays we do Tech Thursdays. And Rich Demuro is here. Rich Demuro is the guy who took over for Leo LaPorte. I've watched him for years on the KTLA Morning News, and I've read his book that he, I think it was a couple of years ago, put out on the iPhone, and all the stuff you could do with your iPhone. The guy is a brilliant tech dude, and I'm looking forward to him visiting. Jefferson Graham's on the road, and Rich has been good enough to stop in today. Also going to talk, obviously, about AI and how AI is now part of a major union negotiation that's going on. We'll talk about that as well. David Katz joins in the 11 o'clock hour. The Trump legal gears continue to grind on, and Trump obviously facing much more serious charges than this thing going on in New York, but the circus in New York around awaiting Trump's arrival, et cetera, seems to have stolen the spotlight. I also want to get his take, David Katz's, on this Gwyneth Paltrow thing. I know, you mean, it's trivial in a way, but in another way, first of all, a lot of people watch the live stream. I mean, the live stream, did you see those numbers, Albert? They were huge. I mean, tens of thousands of people are watching this Gwyneth Paltrow thing. And I want to know, if you hit somebody at Tahoe and you're skiing and snowboarding, maybe you're not paying attention, and you do damage to them, can you be sued? You're not Gwyneth Paltrow, maybe not deep-pocketed through Goop and all the other ways that Gwyneth Paltrow has money. But is this a legit case?
So the guy suing her says she skied into him and then skied away, like a run-by skiing. She says, no, wait a minute, buddy. You hit me.
Oh.
So it's an interesting
classic,
case.
you see a nice car, you run in front of it type of situation.
And
There's never been anything like this.
Well, I
She
think they're
looks
actually
so sad in court. Like, she looks downtrodden.
Yeah. Well,
I'm
she's
going to take a ding for downtrodden, I think.
I think you're right. Downtrodden is a ding word. I think the thing with Gwyneth Paltrow is, apart from the legal case, which Katz can speak to, is she a sympathetic character or is she a Hollywood star who's less sympathetic? How do you see Gwyneth Paltrow?
She seems like the symbol of privilege.
No.
You know, like to have money to spend on a vagina candle. I think, that's the
I forgot about that. What's that? What is a vagina
I don't know.
candle?
There's like a bunch of things that you're supposed to shove up your parts. She has stones and candles.
What?
And this and that. I mean, none of which make any sense.
Who is having that conversation?
It's all a bunch of snake oil, but it's like, she's the symbol of, I don't want to say of California, hippie, granola, privilege.
How
Karen.
dare you? Those are my favorite people. The hippie, granola, privilege people are my favorite people.
So
I hope they become subscribers to this channel.
I'm sure she's very nice, but that's
Albert
her.
is showing it. Yeah. Why is Gwyneth Paltrow selling a candle that smells like her?
Did you just Google search vagina candle? Because if you did, you're going to get some great research results.
I just had Gwyneth Paltrow candle.
Okay.
Yes,
Great.
how dare you, Kim? Yeah. Right. My God. It's
Kim, how are you?
See, you think I'm lying. I'm not even making it up. That you search for it, it pops right up. The crazy thing she's trying to sell people. And then she holds these concerts, these like speaking events where she hawks her wares even more. And they charge you thousands of dollars to get into these things. Yeah. No.
Jennifer agrees. Kim's right. She's a self-important grifter.
Right.
Wow. Well, again, if self-important grifters are subscribing here and donating to the Mark Thompson Show through Patreon or PayPal, then I'm all for them. Yes, exactly. I'm sorry.
Snake oil salesmen, please come make your way in to the.
Yeah, we're crowd-funded, and I'm ready to accept anybody into that crowd. Hope her vagina candle didn't break in the ski accident, says John Watson. All right, enough with the V candle. Wow.
Does that word make you uncomfortable?
Yes, it does. A lot of things make me uncomfortable. One thing that does not make me uncomfortable, one thing that I look forward to, is
Mark's Madness.
You're damn straight. God. We'll update where we are, but right now I need to start the voting for, this is a real tough one. Yeah. It's either going to be...
Supposing you brought the light inside the body.
Yeah, the light inside the body, or...
What he's got going here is a situation.
Again, it's either...
Supposing you brought the light inside the body.
Or...
What he's got going here is a situation.
You vote now on YouTube in the community section of our channel or in the chat. I'll ask you, Albert, what happened yesterday? From yesterday, it was, why are you yelling? Versus morning, and which one won?
It was kind of a runaway yesterday. So the Why Are You Yelling clearly defeated Morning, and it wasn't close. So unfortunately, there's no upset there. But there was an upset in the second hour. Going back to Texas, which was a higher seed, defeated Dave and Chico straight up right in, no problem.
Oh, yes, Dave and Chico. We loved him.
Straight up right in, no problem.
Yeah, but as it turns out, there was a problem. Going back to Texas.
Y'all can all go to hell, and I'm going back to Texas.
That won yesterday. But today, again, it's light inside the body.
Supposing you brought the light inside the body.
Versus situation. Yeah.
What he's got going here is a situation.
So you vote in the community section of our YouTube channel till midnight tonight. Now, it's not hard to find. You click on our channel, and there you'll see home, video, shorts, live, and you'll see community. Click on community, and there you can vote. So it's pretty straightforward. And this hour, live, when we're on the air, you can vote right here. You can vote right in the YouTube chat. So, but for all of you who are listening or on podcasts, or perhaps you're watching in delay, most people watch in delay, you can go to the community section and you can vote, because we want everybody to vote. And you do not need to have a bracket. You do not need to do anything special. If you're on YouTube and you're able to comment on things, then you're able to vote. So, Albert, I wanted to quickly, now I'm running a little behind, but can you give me 60 seconds on the bracket standings?
So I just updated the standings. At some point, I'll show you the visual of it. But as of right now, there's been a shakeup. There's only one last perfect bracket, Mark. And do you want to guess whose bracket that is?
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I don't want to guess. I want you to tell me.
Hey, which one of you is Mark Thompson?
Yes!
It is yours.
It is mine.
So
and you're
so
probably
10,
thinking, yeah.
10 matchups in, and the only one remaining that's perfect is Mark Thompson's bracket.
Do you know why, Albert? Do you know why, Commissioner? My bracket is perfect. You are the commissioner, and I would have thought that you would have a perfect bracket also. I know my audience, and that's why you'll note this year I haven't told you what I'm moving forward with, like what I think. Even here, you don't know which one I picked to move on. You know why? Because I know my audience. They'll vote against me. They'll vote to dash my dreams. And so I've deliberately left it aside.
People are
I know
not
my
happy.
audience.
People are not happy that you're in the lead. Ricky O'Bear says it's rigged. Mike Garcia says we want a recount.
Oh my God!
This is a word from the Lord, and He's not happy.
Montreal 4 goes so far as to call you a cheater.
How
and Jim
dare you.
Shields says the fix is on. John Watson accusing us of voting fraud. A Choco 8 Milk, get the auditors. I mean, this is.
I knew it.
Yeah.
This is my audience, right?
But
I'm telling you,
you shouldn't win. I mean, Mark Thompson can't win Mark's Madness.
there
That's
is no way to cheat in Mark's Madness. One of the beauties, the beautiful things of Mark's Madness
Even
is
Joe Box has turned against you. Really?
Well, that is
Joe Box and Little Anthony.
I've still got Fat Andy.
Mo Black's brother, Fat Andy.
So everything is still good. All right, smash the like button like a boss.
Smash it with your iron
Let's hit
rod.
a little news before
The Mark Thompson Show.
before Gary Dietrich. I wanted to tell you that the reservoir levels in California are, of course, terrific. That's not the whole story, though. After this latest round of rain, the reservoir levels are huge. Statewide average is 107% of the historic average for this time of year, adding up to 27 million acre feet of water stored across the state. It's the first time since 2020 that water storage levels surpassed the historic average. 5 of the state's 8 largest reservoirs have also matched or surpassed their historic averages. Shasta, Oroville in northern parts of the state, San Luis in the western San Joaquin Valley, and Don Pedro and McClure in the central Sierra foothills. Berryessa and Napa County and New Melones in the central Sierra foothills are both above 90% of their historic averages. Trinity Lake is around 50%. It's still an improvement over a few months ago. So historic levels matching an historic winter, right? The winter storms have also left all of this snowpack. The snowpack is 227% of normal. It melts, of course, through the warmer months, and the reservoir operators, they typically work to manage the flow, so they don't keep reservoirs at 100% a lot of the time. There is, however, a problem. Okay. I'm sorry that I have to be the bearer of some rational news amidst the jubilance, but when it comes to water, that's surface water we're talking about. Recharging the aquifers and groundwater, that's a much different story. And there is an attempt on the part of California to put in new strategies, might be the word, to manage some of this water. It just was put into effect, the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act. We've talked about this before. The groundwater is generally used a lot for agriculture. It's also been used by private industry. There haven't been a lot of good restrictions on it in the past. It's the first ever regulation that governs groundwater pumping, this Sustainable Groundwater Management Act. I mean, this stuff isn't sexy, but this is the stuff that will sustain this state or will cost this state everything. Under this law, local groundwater sustainability agencies were formed to manage the state's depleted groundwater basins. And there's something happening. I'm going to get to it in just a second because you can anticipate what happened. The agencies are supposed to develop and implement sustainability plans and get them evaluated by the California Department of Water Resources. The law sets 2042 as the target for achieving overall sustainability. But the state has fully endorsed just 12 basin plans out of 94. And just this month, it found the plan submitted for a large part of the San Joaquin Valley inadequate to deal with the region's critical overdraft. And now let me give you another problem with this. Because there's now going to be this California Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, and there's going to be an objective of compliance, what's happening? There's a run on the water, particularly among agricultural concerns. So the Central Valley really boosted their use of water instead of backing off on their water, knowing that the water supplies might actually diminish. Central Valley groundwater disappeared at almost 5 times the long-term average depletion rate. It was observed that the limits on groundwater use that were being proposed triggered a rush to drill more agricultural wells, to plant more thirsty nut trees, and of course to pump more groundwater. So in the midst of all of these storms, Gavin Newsom has done something. We'll talk about this with Gary Dietrich. Newsom has ordered 600,000 acre-feet of the state's high river flows diverted to groundwater recharge and storage in the Central Valley, along with supply-side efforts, including Newsom's decision last year to increase annual groundwater recharge by at least 500,000 acre-feet a year. That could really slow current rates of groundwater depletion by as much as 25%. But what they say is that groundwater depletion is so substantial that even with this record winter thus far, it's very likely that we can't actually recharge a lot of those aquifers completely. And then you have these various concerns pushing and pulling on the existing supplies. But that's the situation with reservoirs, and that's the situation with groundwater, and it's not all good. It's surface water that looks great, but when you actually get to groundwater, there are a lot of issues. So we will watch that situation for you, but it's interesting to see the dynamics play out and whether or not the state can actually meet its goals.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Did you see Trader Joe's in Oakland may get a union going? That's right.
What?
Yes, and the thing that may be prompting it is a rat infestation, and that's a double what?
What?
Yes. They notice rats to the point that this problem began damaging products, the rat infestation did, and customers started returning damaged products that had rat infestation problems with them.
My bad. I'm sorry.
Workers organized, this is at the Trader Joe's in Oakland, and they got 150 staff members at the store, and they want a union. They see Trader Joe, is it a single Joe, Kim, or is it there's no more Joe, right?
It's plural.
It's just
there's multiple Joes here.
There are multiple Joes, okay. They see Trader Joe's as having disregarded their physical safety and financial security.
You know, they do this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do it for.
The Oakland store is the latest Trader Joe's location and the first in California to join a national push that began in May for unionization. Trader Joe's did not respond to requests for comments about the workers' concerns or the rat infestation. You don't really want the words rat infestation alongside your concern, regardless of what it is.
It was wrong, it was stupid, and I'm trying to be a better person.
Yeah, Mark Thompson.
Anything with food, anytime rat.
Hey, which one do you use, Mark Thompson?
Sorry, Albert. Stand by, Albert.
Who's Mark Thompson?
The Mark Thompson Show.
What was that, Albert, please? Sorry.
Anytime there's anything with food, and seeing the word rat there is not fun.
It's true,
Albert, thank you.
Yes, very good. This guy is the political ninja of ninjas, the man who can bring clarity to so much. I wanted to bring him on to talk the Trump poll numbers, which are up. I also Of course, he watches California politics so closely and is so great. And we'll talk about Gavin Newsom, from the national to handling California crises at the same time. How about it for Gary Dietrich, everybody? Look at you. What's up, Gary Dietrich? Can Gary hear us? We haven't talked to him in a while. I don't. Oh, you can't hear?
Hi, Gary Dietrich.
He can't hear us, Albert. Can you do something? All right. Albert is handling that.
That's a bummer.
Yeah.
I bet it's a volume. I bet it's a volume issue.
Has no idea what they're doing.
It could be a rat infestation.
Turn up the volume. You think the rats got in? I don't know.
I'm just saying it's something.
It looks like a pretty fancy place over there. I don't think
we haven't had a problem, a technical problem, in a while, so it stands to reason that it would be. We're overdue.
I even had David Katz on Monday with no problem.
I know.
By the
way, was great.
We had a lot of great guests while you were gone.
You did.
Just saying, yeah. Although yesterday I did have an issue, but you know.
What happened?
I don't think we should talk about it, really. I think we can just go right past it.
I don't know what the issue was, but I'm guessing that
I misspoke.
Oh,
yeah.
Did you misspeak?
I did indeed misspeak. Yeah.
What happened?
Well, so we have the way the back, behind the scenes for folks. The way it works is we have these, you log on to the show to get on here, and we can see your picture in the green room, the waiting room. And then when we're ready to talk to you, we pull your picture up and we welcome you and have our interview, and then we put you back in the green room and away you go.
All right.
Well, John Rothman likes to hang out in the green room because he can hear the show that way.
Sure.
So he's on well past his segment, and I'm preoccupied with him, thinking, I wonder why he's in there still.
Oh.
And I was just about to say the Mark Thompson show when history kicked in, because I said the John Rothman show on KGO many a time.
Oh,
and I was looking at his picture and his name in the green room, and out of my mouth came out the John Rothman show here on the Mark Thompson
There's
show.
never been anything like this.
Yeah.
There is no defense for my
I'm sorry.
conduct.
Yeah, I don't think there is a lot of defense, although you really did put up a good defense. That was strong.
bad.
Let me explain. I'm used to saying this. I saw him there.
Yeah, I preemptively apologized.
Kind of,
it was all going well until that moment, and then it was like the whole house of cards came tumbling down.
Yeah.
I've told you, it's never easy being in this business.
Yeah, it really isn't.
Kim, you were just missing the word allegedly in your defense. So
I allegedly
use that word, and Gary's reconnected, so we could try to get to him now.
All right, Gary Dietrich, everybody. Let's try him and see if we can. Gary Dietrich, you are the political ninja. Welcome, sir. Can you hear us?
I certainly can, my friend.
Yeah. Uh-oh. What happened? He just popped out, Albert.
We heard him, and now you're silent.
We had
Gary.
him. I certainly can, and then he popped out.
Mm-mm.
I blame you, Albert. What is going on, Albert?
Whoever is producing this thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, Gary.
All right.
I was really looking forward to talking to Gary. Hopefully we can get it fixed.
Well, this will make you feel better, Kim, on your little gaffe. Chris saying, no, I'm sorry. This is John Slade saying, I heard Pat Thurston say this is KGO when she's on KCBS.
Oh, my. Yeah. It's
how do you look how the audience automatically is sympathetic. Kim, how do you keep everything in order with all your activity? You're amazing.
Yeah, see,
please.
they're nice to me.
It's basic professionalism. Get your act together. My God, it's like
it
was great. I loved it.
Well,
I was pretty sure I was going to be the next victim on Courtney's Mark's Murder Mystery Monday segment.
All right, let's try to get Dietrich back, please.
The Mark Thompson Show.
And we still don't hear him, Albert. I don't know. He's so handsome. I almost don't have to hear him.
He really is. He's a good-looking fella.
But he's got real information for us. So
Is it sexist to say that? I don't think so. Can I say he's a good-looking fella?
No. Why is that?
Okay.
Why is that sexist?
I mean,
it's
he
okay
is.
Here.
Yeah.
It's quite okay. Yeah, as far as I'm concerned.
Tell your little friends the dreams do come true.
Yeah, talking to Gary Dietrich is your dream. I'll tell you that I don't want to run out of time to talk to Gary. That's my concern.
Do you want me to do news now and get it out of the way so that then when he figures it out, you can come back and do the
Albert,
interview?
that might be a smart move. Kim, who really torched a moment in the show yesterday with her Rothman mistake, has actually maybe made up for it with this creative suggestion.
I think torched is severe, really. I mean,
I didn't even bring it up. So you must be haunted by it to have brought it up.
You know, I figure a lot of people emailed you about it because I tried to ask people not to tell you, but in the end,
once you
it's
ask
like,
people not to tell you,
we have processes and protocols and standards.
Thank you. We do have processes, protocols, and standards, and you couldn't meet any one of the three.
Rude.
So I am thinking that we can go for Gary or we can go for Ken. Let's go for Ken.
I just got off the phone with Gary. We'll try one last time here. I think we've solved it.
Okay. So we're going to stay with the Gary attempt. This, if you're new to the show, this is what we do every day. We spend about 3 or 4 minutes trying to get guests on. Yeah.
You know how we do.
Yeah. But
how we roll. It's fine.
Meantime, look at the brackets and look at me with my I don't want you to show people this because they're gonna vote against me, Albert. This is not cool, dude.
Oh, this isn't your bracket. This is just the
it's not my
generic bracket.
Okay.
This is how things have been shaken out.
Okay, so we had Where Are My Weed Smokers At versus Shirley, and Where My Weed Smokers won. We'll Do It Live and Word from the Lord, and We'll Do It Live won. They do this to me all the time. Went off against Movado Watch. They do this to me all the time, won. Ma'am, I'm on the phone. Came up against Producer Has No Idea What He's Doing. Producer Has No Idea won. My Bad, I'm Sorry against Processes yesterday. And My Bad, I'm Sorry won. And Wild Idea went up against Bet My Lunch. Wild Idea won. Simon Bad, that's, it's about as bad as it can possibly get. And Oprah's What? Oprah's What? Crushed Simon.
Yeah.
Why Are You Yelling? Took on Morning yesterday. Why Are You Yelling? Won. And Going Back to Texas took in straight up right in, and Going Back to Texas won. That's where we are. So what you're going to see, and you're seeing it so far today, is Why Are You Yelling? Having defeated, we'll move on to the next round. Trump, Light Inside the Body against Grady today. So if you're just joining us, you vote for one or the other. It's either
supposing you brought the light inside the body,
or you.
What he's got going here is a situation.
It's one or the other. It's either
supposing you brought the light inside the body,
or what he's got going here is a situation.
Only one moves on to the next round. Okay, you can vote in YouTube right now. The poll is on, and you can vote till midnight tonight in the community section of our channel. You click on our channel, and you'll see community. And that's where you vote. All right, one more time. We're going to try this.
The Mark Thompson Show.
How about it for Gary Dietrich, everybody? Let's pretend that the last few minutes didn't even happen. Gary, how are you, sir?
Can you hear me?
Yes! Don't touch anything. Just keep it going. All right, so Gary, I want to ask you, I have to, unfortunately, put the niceties aside because we're a little behind now, but I am so grateful to speak with you, and I love you being on the show. I saw the Mammoth poll numbers on Trump, this circus around the DA and the New York charges. They may or may not even happen. They've dismissed the jury, for yet another day. And they might happen, but either way, the circus seems to be keeping his name in the news. He loves it would seem to me. And his poll numbers are up. This is at the same time that DeSantis has seen poll numbers sink. So he's sort of viewed as the other guy who could really give Trump a run. Give us a breakdown on that, and then I want to get to Gavin Newsom real quick.
Yeah, well, the DeSantis Trump thing is interesting. Let's just start with Trump, okay? So there are a lot of people who probably have a fairly reasonable assumption that Trump is loving this whole Manhattan borough DA thing because it truly has put him back on the national news every single night. And every day that the grand jury does it, just extends the news story, right? Now we have legs on this story that look like they're going to go at least until Monday before he even is maybe or maybe not indicted. So that is nothing but good news for a guy who many people said, yeah, he's kind of sinking out of the spotlight. People don't really talk about Donald Trump. Well, they certainly are now. The other part of that, Mark, is the sympathizer factor. In other words, there's a lot of people that really believe, and you're seeing this across the GOP board, by the way, and even Democrats are saying, this is doing a lot to rally the base around Trump. And also Republicans who are kind of on Trump are saying, this Manhattan borough dude is way out of line. So, in many ways, you can see his poll number bump. Some would say, and as a direct result of this most recent and most sort of prominent attack on the former president.
As Jack Smith actually brings the federal charges which are associated with January 6th, if he brings them. But I mean, those are clearly far more serious. They remind us of a real ugly chapter in American history that Trump helped, it would seem, make happen. Does that kind of fall into a different category, or might he continue to benefit from that kind of playing the victim even when those charges are brought, if they're brought?
Yeah, well, I certainly think that, most people who wanted to see Trump go down agree that the Manhattan borough charges are the weakest of all out there on the plate. And then what's happening in Georgia over, potential obstruction and trying to seek the votes and all that. What's happening in Washington, D.C. over the documents. Did he actually know and try to block the top secret documents from being exposed and then taken from Mar-a-Lago? Those couple of sets of charges that are sitting out there are seen as far more serious. And so really right now, I think there's lots of shoes yet to drop, but this temporary bump, I think you could certainly associate with, a sympathetic ear to a very local DA trying to take down a former president.
Now I want to get to California real quick, and then we'll, I hope, visit more frequently and, and technologically be more smoother. But I do want to ask you about Gavin Newsom. So Gavin Newsom, who has national aspirations, it would seem clear, has dealt with a lot of crises here in California now, right? And you can't really play the national scene while Rome is burning type thing. I wonder if you can speak to the Gavin and that pivot back to California.
Well, you have that exactly right, Mark. I mean, think about the difference in Gavin Newsom's narratives, his TV appearances over the last, let's say, since the beginning of the year, right? I mean, it was all about DeSantis. It was all about Governor Abbott in Texas, right? I mean, there was, for the last half of last year, when his reelection was quite, rightly assumed to be happening without any problem, he was all over the national stage. And it was all about comparisons between California and particularly Florida. You are not hearing that from the governor right now. He has made a very serious pivot to policy issues, most notably homelessness and housing. But there are others out there as well. And his tour of the state last week, in lieu of a traditional State of the State address, was all about those kinds of things. And this is a governor that I think right now his people recognize, look, we're still waiting for Biden to make the formal announcement, but that's looking increasingly likely. Therefore, we better get our act together in the Golden State, because, all the, photos that go on national news and all of the encampments all over California, et cetera, that is not looking good for Gavin Newsom. And the bottom line is, I think he and his people have decided we got to take care of business here now. Whether it's 24 or 28 or whatever it is, we're going to have a track record to run on. We need to focus on that.
Yeah, I might just say, though, that I don't know. You could cut homelessness in half, and there'll still be those pictures of the homeless, and they're going to be played against Newsom always. I mean, so, and I don't know what the governor's office can do. This homeless industrial complex that's grown up, the world of the administrative state, to use that kind of awful, the now radioactive terminology that's associated with dealing with homelessness, Gary, it seems like it's a big deal. So all the state money, all the money that comes from Sacramento to deal with it, may not really put a dent in it. It seems to be a more localized issue.
Try this on for size, Mark. Right now, literally as we speak, a letter has gone from the Joint Legislative Audit Committee in the legislature, and that is bipartisan, by the way, to the state auditor, asking for a full audit of the last 5 years of spending by the state on homelessness to the tune of $20 billion. That is going to land. They say, the auditor says, well, it'll take us about 6 to 7 months. That is going to be crucial, because that's going to be seen as a report card on this governor. And it's going to be seen as a potential footprint for how he's viewed going forward. So I'll tell you, there's restlessness up here in Sacramento about this issue, and it's on both sides of the aisle.
Wow, that's a great, the X-ray on where that money's going and how homelessness is being taken, that may dictate political fortunes, is what you're suggesting. Yeah. Hey, Gary, I love that you made time for us. Thank you so much. Next time we'll iron out the technical a little bit better. But thanks, pal. We really appreciate it, and great takes in a short time. Appreciate it. Gary Dietrich, everybody. Yeah, love it.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Thanks for participating in all the ways you do. Smash the like button. That's the YouTube scene in the algorithms of YouTube.
The
number of
iron rod.
Do it with your iron rod. We're completely crowdfunded, so appreciate the ways that you help us in that regard as well. Kim, I want to get right to Rich. Can we do that?
I agree. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This guy is so good to step up. Well, first of all, I've watched him for years. I read his book on the, he did a book on what you could do with the iPhone. And it really is cool, man. I mean, there's like all this stuff. You'd think it wouldn't be a book there, but there is. And he just has such great takes on technology and how our culture is embracing technology and even reluctantly embracing technology. You can find him. He does the Leo LaPorte show now.
Well, it was the Leo LaPorte show,
right,
but now it's no longer.
Exactly.
Now LaPorte has retired,
exactly.
And Rich has stepped in. He's taken it over.
That couldn't happen fast enough for me.
He's kicking
I've known
ass.
Leo for years. He's past his expiration date. Yes, bring on the new guy. Rich Demuro, everybody. Come on. Yeah, I love it, Rich.
Thank you. And those are your opinions about Leo, not mine. Leo has been a great mentor, and he has been phenomenal for me. So anyway, it's been a great honor to take over his show.
Let me tell you, just in 15 seconds or less, Leo LaPorte and I used to do a show together on KNBR. Imagine this. This is years ago in San Francisco when I was there. And so I've known Leo for years, and he's delightful and terrific and knowledgeable and all the things that you said, too. So I'm only giving him a hard time. But you really are a guy who brings a lot of chops to this. I'm so honored that you would be on our show. So thank you, first of all. AI clearly is the center, I would say, front and center technology that is changing life so rapidly. And it's way more than a flavor of the month. I mean, this is really it's a watershed moment in technology, isn't it?
100%. And we are literally just getting started with this. I mean, I think most people are familiar with ChatGPT at this point. Even if they haven't tried it, they've heard the term, they've heard people talking about it. Obviously, they've heard about AI. People are still wondering, what is it all about? But the impact we're seeing of AI on pretty much every thing you can ever imagine. It's kind of like when the internet started getting built into every device, like every device started getting connected, like your car, your coffee mug, your computer was an early one. But now it's like you go to CES and these electronics shows, and for years it was just, let's add an internet connection to every device. Now it's, let's add AI to every device. So something as simple as your TV, and I'd say cable box, but we're not really using those much anymore. But, something like YouTube TV is going to use more AI to figure out what to present front and center when you sit down to watch TV. YouTube, same thing. Pretty much any industry across the world is going to start turning to AI to do all kinds of cool stuff.
The fun or different or loudest AI that we're seeing is this chat, right? The ChatGPT, where it's literally able to write a term paper for you that you have to review and maybe make a couple of tweaks to, or it's able to write a letter of condolence. I mean, it's crazy. That was that story a few weeks ago. But the reality is sort of along the lines of what you were talking about. I'm going to get back to the writing in a second because it's part of a big union contract negotiation. But what you're talking about is its ability to anticipate our lives, and we've just seen it just gain such tremendous functionality in that way. That is, on balance, a good thing, Rich?
I think there is good and there's bad, of course. I think, let me give you the good. So this is an idea I kind of had many, many years ago. And I think this is probably the best example. Like, you go to the doctor, right? And when you go to the doctor, you tell them your symptoms. That doctor is searching in their brain for a match. Okay, you mentioned this, this, and this. In my brain, it seems to match up to that. And realistically, when you think about that situation, it is so dependent on so many things about that one doctor, right? Their brain, how they were trained, the knowledge they have, whether they keep up on any sort of medical journals, books, whatever. So imagine we now feed this information into an AI brain that has all of the world's knowledge, that has every single symptom ever figured out in the smallest recesses of the world in real time. And now it tells you what is going on with you. with more accuracy than ever. Now, of course, the humans are always going to be necessary to kind of figure things out. But this is an idea that I've been talking about for years. Like, why isn't medicine like this? And now we're going to get there, because already if you're using Google Bard, which is Google's new AI answer to ChatGPT,
I'm on the wait list.
Okay. When you get in, Mark, you will not believe it. It's like literally having the world's smartest person at your beck and call any time of the day to just ask questions to. And yes, Google can do that. But with Google, it's hunt and peck and look and hunt and peck and click and link. And this is all just in one place. Hey, give me 5 good books to read in this summer because I love this book and it's customized. I've got this, and this in my refrigerator. Tell me all the things I can make. Oh, and by the way, make it vegan or make it healthy. I mean, the kinds of questions you can ask these tools are just something that I've never seen before in my life. And it's actually quite helpful, although, it could be wrong. And that's the downside.
Well, no, I also, and there has to be more than that as a downside. I mean, what is the sci-fi, dystopian earthscape that AI brings about? Is that a reality? I mean, might it get so far out ahead of humanity that it can off us, or that it can tell me how it could bake a cake that could do us in?
Well, I mean, think about it. So right now, these things exist in a computer. You open up the computer, you type something in, it types something back. You get sick of it, you get tired of it, you close your computer. But there are already companies working on robots that will take the human form, and the brain of this robot will be AI. And it's constantly learning. It's constantly making decisions. I mean, look, this is not a new concept. RoboCop was many, many years ago in Hollywood, and it's the same thing, except the thing that's different is that it will be real. And, are they going to come after us? Are they going to kill us? Are they going to, try to ruin the world? Anyone's guess. Who knows? But the reality is,
I thought you were going to say no.
No, I don't know. I mean, how do we know until it happens? I mean, these things, look, it's kind of like the idea of the electric car or the self-driving car. There's 2 things in a road. There's a person or a person in the road, or a rock that you have to run, to avoid, or there's so many decisions that these computers make that humans make decisions in a split second, and they make them based on a variety of factors. Computers are programmed to make decisions, but when those computers are learning from past decisions, it just kind of opens up a whole new world of what is possible.
I love that example because it seems to me as though it could be an accidental thing. It's not that they are deliberately trying to off humanity. It's that they were doing something in service of something else, and that had the ripple effect. I don't know if it's literally offing humanity, but you could unleash a really bad chain of events. I want to ask you about this labor negotiation that I was reading about in Hollywood, because there are screenwriters that are worried that, and they're performers of all kinds, but let's just start with screenwriters and producers that are worried that AI is going to replace them, and that what's happening already is that producers and studio heads are integrating AI writing into a lot of these pitches, synopses, and even scripts.
Yeah, I mean, this is just one small example of the impact that these tools are going to have. So right now, anyone can fire up ChatGPT or a number of these tools, and there are specific writing tools as well, and give it a synopsis, give it some ideas, and it will spit out a pretty good paragraph or even a script, whatever you need. And so this whole negotiation centers upon, can studios, and I think the fear is that someone would come up with a program that's so good that you feed it the last 2 seasons of Seinfeld, and it now can pump out a Seinfeld script all by itself. And you can say, oh, let's make a script about visiting the ice cream shop, and nobody could decide on the flavor, and it writes the whole script based on that, or whatever you want. And so I think these negotiations are pretty important, because what the WGA is saying, as I understand it, is that you're actually pretty free to use these tools as a first draft. And it's kind of like any other tool that you might have, like a pen and a paper, or Final Draft, which is actually, like when I first started using Final Draft many years ago, I couldn't believe that you could actually just format the script so easily. And that probably seemed like a big deal back then. But now the fact that you can just say, okay, let me press tab and it finishes my sentence, that's next level stuff.
And it's a concession on some level, I see it, what you've just described by the WGA, to how powerful AI is. That they're saying, okay, for a first draft, that gives up a lot of territory for these writers these writers would normally control.
Yeah, and I'm sure the writers I'm sure there's a split among writers. Some probably see it as, hey, this is kind of a neat way for me to get that creative first draft, or maybe those, that creative juice flowing. And, if it helps, it helps. But at the end of the day, I think no matter what, look, we're going to see, and I think we're going to see this in general, but it's going to start with social media and things like TikTok and things like Instagram and Twitter. We're just going to see a whole bunch of new content that's created using AI, for better or for worse. And I think what Hollywood's been good at in the past is actually having that human touch and making stuff that is actually better than what's generated by a computer. And that's what we would hope. And I'm already seeing a lot of these video tools that you can literally type in, give me make me a video that shows how to change the Wi-Fi setting on the iPhone. And it will literally write the video. An AI voice will say the video, and it will create little video snippets in the video. And you can make that 30 seconds, 60. I've used this tool myself. There's a tool that's coming out. And that's just one. There's many that are coming out that are doing this. And so we're just going to see a proliferation of kind of junky stuff that, was just put together really quick. Some will be good, some will be bad.
There will be clutter. There'll be clutter as a result of it. Yeah.
That's a great
Rich Demuro is
great
our
term.
guest, and we're finished just in the last couple of minutes. I was just thinking, as you were speaking, about the fact that you could end up with a courtroom in which you had two AI attorneys going at it against each other, defense and prosecution. I mean, literally, you could have an evolution where, just as the Writers Guild has given up some ground, the legal community may give up some ground to that, because the basic facts are all are conclusive there in both cases, they may feel. And so they may see that as just as you've suggested in the medical forums, in the legal forums, it may happen as well. I mean, it's kind of an eerie thought.
I think so much of what happens in the world is all based on what access to information do you have at that moment, and also the breadth of that information. So when you have access to all of the information at once, let's say you, like you said in the legal example, where you have a case, and I'm not a lawyer, but I believe that lawyers go look at other cases to see what precedents were set, to see how judges acted, to see how the defense acted, the prosecution. And so when all of that information is fed into a supercomputer, and you can put in all the facts of your case, and this computer spits out exactly how this should go down, it just changes things once again. Now, I think laws and rules and regulations, a lot of it has to catch up to the technology. That's always been the way, but there's going to be, a lot of people that try to do this stuff first. There's going to be a lot of companies that try to do this stuff. There's already companies working on legal. This company called, it's like Do Not Pay. And they tried to have a legal AI defense. So they sent someone to a courtroom, or they were going to, with a little earpiece. And the earpiece was listening to everything that was happening. And then the AI was interpreting it and feeding it back. And the judge was like, no, you cannot do that. Like, that's not allowed in this courtroom.
Wow. Well, you realize I just and then I want to quickly finish up with TikTok in a second, but just to round this out, you realize how out of step some institutions in America are with technology. I mean, you have to be immensely frustrated at the beginning of COVID. Congress couldn't meet virtually. All of us were meeting virtually. Everybody was doing Zoom. Right. We had this contagion. No one was quite sure how it was passing from one person to another. And Congress couldn't get anything done unless the legislators were literally physically there with each other, because all this stuff is based on a document from the 1700s. So there are parts of society, I think you're right to point out, that haven't quite gotten up to speed, and we're not in synchronicity on this.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way it's always going to be. I feel like it's something as simple as working at a company. You know, some people sit there and they use their corporate computer and they're sitting there going, my computer at home is better than this. I can install software. I can update things. I have my Gmail versus your archaic email system, but it's all there for a reason. There's reasons for a lot of this stuff. And I get it. As a tech person, I'm always trying to break the rules. I'm always trying to forge ahead, but I understand why not everything moves at the speed of tech. Because if you look at Facebook, you know, their mantra was, you know, move fast and break things and that kind of stuff, which is great. We need that for innovation. But at the same time, you don't necessarily want your doctor or your lawyer to, you know, just try the latest, greatest AI tool on you and say, oh, well, that didn't work. And now you're going to jail.
Real quick, TikTok, too popular to go away. What they've tried to get rid of it once. I mean, I'm talking with the U.S. government. Viewing it as, and the other thing about TikTok, isn't it true, Rich? They own a lot of stuff. There are a lot of Chinese based companies that are in our lives and other apps that probably myself and my audience is not even aware of.
You know, it's interesting. I've tried to think about that. And, you know, I don't know if that's completely true. I'm trying to think of an app to the level of TikTok. And
I'll just be
clear about the whole TikTok thing. Like a lot of it is fear. A lot of it is the unknown. What could the Chinese government do? At the end of the day, I think it really comes down to the way the Chinese government deals with its companies versus America. In America, you know, there are standards for things, and in other countries where, you know, if you wanted to get all of your Google browsing history or something, Google would pretty much say like, hold on, before we give that to you, if we can even give it to you, there's going to be some things that have to happen here. Whereas in China, I'm not sure that's the way it happens. And I think that's the big fear with TikTok, is that the Chinese government can wield undue influence on the information they're getting or feeding to the American people. But at the end of the day, I mean, what kind of information is TikTok collecting that any app in the world is not collecting? You know, data about what you're browsing, what you're searching, your IP address, your location. It's not like it has special access to our social security numbers and it's listening to our microphones inside our homes. That's not really happening. But anyway, I digress.
So they've oversold that threat, you think, a little bit. I don't mean to make, when I say that threat has been oversold, perhaps, is what your point is.
I think if you're accessing TikTok on an American device, like an iPhone or an Android phone, there's not a way easily that app, as it stands today, can sit there and spy on you in a way that Instagram or Facebook can't. I don't think there's extra level of something in that app that does something that other apps don't do. With that said, I think it all comes back to the government and how the Chinese government deals with things versus these other apps that, you know, just play by different rules, I guess.
Sure.
And by the way, so we saw Huawei get banned here in the US, which is a big manufacturer of smartphones in the world. It's also a big manufacturer of equipment. And, you know, some of it was founded. They did find some backdoor software on some of the stuff that Huawei made. So that was definitely founded. Is it too big to go away? Probably. I think that TikTok is such a force in the US. If it went away, obviously I'm sure Facebook would love for that to happen, because what would swoop in? Facebook and YouTube, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts would swoop in to fill that void. But the reality is, at the end of the day, if they can't come to some sort of agreement with this app, it will probably transfer ownership to some sort of American company or a corporation that, you know, ByteDance sends it over to here, and they just start up in America and just carry everything over.
Yeah. Rich on Tech, the radio show, your regular appearances on the KTLA Morning News. I mean, those are my pals, Frank and Sam, among them. Say hi for us. So appreciate you spending some time with us, man. Thank you so much, Rich.
Thanks a lot, Mark. Appreciate it. Longtime fan as well. And I know I have a radio show, but I don't have the radio voice like you. That is just classic.
Thanks,
pal. Gotta love it.
You have the knowledge, my friend. That will never change. It'll only get better. Great. I think we're going to try to get you for next week, too, if you wouldn't mind. So hopefully we can get that organized. Rich Demuro, thanks, Rich.
Thank you.
Right on.
Do you feel it? It's the Mark Thompson Show.
Oh, that was cool. That was through Kim. Kim made that happen. Bravo, Kim. Yeah. She was going to get it for the John Rothman show. but she got it for our show, which is good. We're just giving her a hard time because she
that's why we've also muted her mic.
Yeah,
so
she's muted.
She can't.
She has trouble with the mute, I've noticed.
Yeah, I'll never live it down.
But
he was great though. I loved him.
Oh my gosh, he is so good. If you're joining us, this is Mark Thompson Show. I'm Mark. Kim is our.
Whose
we'll
show
have
is that?
news. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Kim is magical.
Kim, how are you?
Don't let us put you off just because we've been giving her a hard time.
Yeah.
But I do want to remind you that there's something going on here that is pretty damn special. We only do it once a year, and you can participate. All you have to do, you have to have a Google account, don't you, Albert? Commissioner, don't you have to have a Google account to participate in March Madness?
Google account and YouTube. So YouTube and Google are intertwined. So you can vote on Google. Yep.
Yeah.
And,
right. So you can vote on Google. You can also vote in the community center. Vote for what? I'll tell you
Now,
what.
I can't believe it! Mark's Madness.
I'll tell you what. Right now we got a good one going. In fact, we'll update the voting here in a second.
Supposing you brought the light inside the body.
That's one. Light inside the body versus...
what he's got going here is a situation.
Yeah, it's light inside the body.
Supposing you brought the light inside the body.
Versus...
What he's got going here is a situation.
You can vote now and until midnight tonight in the community section of our YouTube page. So good luck. Now, where is the voting, Albert? I would like to know. What's... Let me predict. Hang on. And I forget what I've chosen. I think Grady situation's ahead of Trump. Am I right?
Yeah, it's 56% as of right now. So it's looking like it's a clear. It's closer than I'd expect.
That's close.
But it's,
yes, that's very close. Wow.
Unfortunately for my bracket, I think I picked the wrong one here. So I'm not liking
it's really
that,
the
so.
commissioner Kim has not distinguished himself early on in the tournament. He's had some missteps.
It's disappointing. You know?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm 8-2. Let's slow down here. Okay? I'm 8-2.
There's never been anything like this.
That's 80% correct. So that's still a B minus.
Yeah. And
which is exactly where I want to set my bar, Mark, as you know.
That's right. You're a B minus player. I forgot. That's kind of your deal. In the next hour, the great attorney, David Katz, the former assistant U.S. attorney, he will weigh in on the situation with Trump. You know, we talk about the Trump thing, and this is a really small case when you consider what's looming. The Georgia case and the January 6th case. That is huge. So we'll get him to weigh in on that situation. But in addition to that, and I want to apologize in advance, but America's obsession with the Gwyneth Paltrow ski accident case is a real obsession. And I have it too. If you run into somebody
That's not fake. That's real.
If you hit somebody on the ski slope, can you be sued? We'll talk to David about that as well. Smash the like button like a boss.
Smashed it with your iron rod.
Damn straight. And David next hour and Belinda Waymouth. It is... It's the Planet Stupid. We'll talk about all things related to the environment. All of that still to come. Mark Thompson Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Shadow Stevens, and this is the greatest radio show in the history of the world. The Mark Thompson Show is in all the record books.
I'm Kim McAllister on the Mark Thompson Show, and this newscast could be sponsored by you. If you are interested in sponsoring any part of the Mark Thompson Show, you can email us at themarkthompsonshow@gmail.com. Let's start with storm damage. 5 people have now died from Tuesday's bomb cyclone, all of them here in the Bay Area. That is also where a police sergeant was nearly crushed when a tree fell onto his car. He'd been responding to a crash on Highway 17 in San Jose yesterday. The state's still reporting, by the way, nearly 40,000 power outages, with the most in Santa Cruz County. Nearly every agency involved in the response effort, including the National Guard and swift water rescue teams. Caltrans has 4,000 crew members working to keep roadways open. Here's one that is not open, not at all. That road buckled and cracked, and went shot straight skyward. This is a landslide that destroyed a section of Redwood Boulevard in Novato that runs adjacent to Highway 101. This slide caused a large segment of the road to buckle. It is blocking access to Olompali State Park, bending a PG&E power pole. As a matter of fact, my son's class was supposed to go on a field trip to Olompali State Park today, and they couldn't because this roadway shut down. A sad discovery last night, the body of JV, a radio host, found in the San Francisco Bay by Pier 39. He had suffered from Lyme's disease. Police say there was no evidence of foul play in this case. Jeffrey Vandergrift, known as JV, was 55 years old. It does not appear that a New York City grand jury will be discussing the case today involving whether or not to indict former President Trump as originally planned. Reports say the grand jury is meeting, but won't be working on this case. And since they are not expected to come together on Friday, any new developments won't come until Monday at the very earliest. The jury was reportedly set to possibly hear more evidence today, maybe even from another witness. The case involving Trump and alleged money paid to adult film actress Stormy Daniels right before the 2016 election.
That's the worst hush money that has ever been paid.
It's not so hush.
Yeah.
What happened to the hush
$130K,
portion?
and that's all. And not only are they not hushing, that's all you can see everywhere is a discussion of Stormy Daniels.
Somebody doesn't know how to keep a secret.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, I had to cough. So today will be the third and the final day of the Los Angeles Unified School District employees strike, meaning kids will go back to school tomorrow. The strike will end as planned, but no new contract or settlement between the district and Local 99 SEIU, which called for that strike. The support employees like bus drivers, cafeteria workers, and special ed assistants want a 30% pay raise. United Teachers Los Angeles members are striking with them in solidarity. They also want a 20% raise over the next 2 years.
That's a big thing, though, that they've got solidarity and cooperation. They have a coalition that they didn't have before. So from a labor standpoint, their leverage is really increased.
Really powerful. U.S. General says Russian jets, here's a Russian jet, have flown over an American base in Syria nearly every day this month. Lieutenant General Alexis Grinkowicz of U.S. Central Command saying that Russian air jets have violated their airspace in Syria roughly 25 times so far this month, violating a 4-year-old agreement between Russia and the U.S. and risking escalation. The general said he doesn't think the Russians have any incentive to use weapons against the U.S. military. He did say it increases the risk of miscalculation, like the recent drone incident over the Black Sea. President Biden will be heading to Ottawa, Canada for a meeting today. He is due to participate in a bilateral meeting with Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau to affirm his administration's commitment to the U.S.-Canada partnership. The two are expected to discuss support for Ukraine as the Russia invasion drags on there. Clean energy, supply chains, modernizing NORAD, grappling with a new wave of violence threatening Haiti, all up for the topics of discussion there. And the head of Citigroup, although I don't know what else we would expect him to say, says recent bank failures are not a sign of systemic trouble in the financial system. During an event in Washington, D.C., CEO Jane Fraser said the banking system is sound. The two banks that recently went under had a lot of issues. Her remarks come after the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell made similar remarks, saying bank management failed badly, calling SVB an outlier. This is an unfortunate story, but it seems that new research finds IQs in the United States seem to be dropping. What? A study out of Northwestern University, Leah, thank you, looked at ability scores in 4 categories: verbal reasoning, visual problem solving, mathematics, and spatial reasoning. In all of those categories, except spatial reasoning, researchers found scores decline between 2011 and 2018.
Wow.
Seriously, what the
That is bad. Those are kind of key categories, I think.
Well, I mean, we don't. Are we dumbing down America? I don't know.
I'm just saying it would be nice to see an uptick in one of those categories.
Now we got the advent of AI, and here we go. Okay, and lastly, today is National Puppy Day. Woo, yay, woo! Woo! And so here's cute puppies for you. And that's it. This is the news on the Mark Thompson Show. Yeah. National Puppy Day, baby.
They had to close down an entire radio station to silence him. And now, he's here. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Thompson. The Mark Thompson Show.
What up, everybody? Welcome back. It's our 11 o'clock hour. I have to quickly do some business. I will keep it super quick, Albert, I promise, but it is an obligation.
Now, I can't believe it! Mark's Madness.
You must vote in Mark's Madness, and you can only vote for one. You'll either vote for...
And I wanted to apologize to the Asian community, the Asian American community.
Or you'll vote for...
There's never been anything like this.
That's right. Either...
And I wanted to apologize to the Asian community, the Asian American community.
Or...
There's never been anything like this.
It's Stephen A. or Trump. You can vote now in our YouTube chat and until midnight tonight in the community section of our channel. Good luck. Now, welcome this guy who was... you got a TV hit in just a minute, so I want to get right to him. He is the tax ninja, the former U.S. attorney, former assistant U.S. attorney, David Katz, should say. David, I was thinking about all the different things. I know you have a TV shot in a second because the world wants you, and I don't blame them. You're so good. So I want to start with something a little off the beaten track, and then I want to get to Trump and all the things that are looming as legal issues for him. So the thing that's off the beaten track but is clearly... it's captured a lot of our attention, is this Gwyneth Paltrow trial, which is associated with her having been involved in a ski accident. They say that she hit this other skier, right, and did damage to him, I mean, broke bones, etc., and then skied away. When that happens, is somebody legally liable?
Yes. The answer is that if they were negligent, and they were not up to the duty of care, and that can be driving down the street, Mark, but it can also be, going down a ski slope. Now, there's an idea of assumption of the risk, that there are some kind of risky activities. But even so, you're entitled to be free of someone acting negligently towards you. The law in Utah is that whoever's more downhill has the right of way. So if you're above somebody and you hit them, then you're generally at fault. One of the interesting things about the case, Mark, is that it's not clear who was uphill from the other one and who was more downhill. There don't seem to have been independent witnesses to it. And, they're going down a beginner slope. People are not looking at all the other people going down the beginner slope. They're trying to get down the slope themselves, right, without having an accident. And so there's a lot of factual dispute about the case. And basically, the actress says that he ran into her, and he says he's about 76. I guess he's a retired doctor. He says that she ran into him. One of the problems is that he says that on account of the accident, he now has brain damage, unfortunately, which makes it more difficult, I guess, to credit him as a witness when he says how it happened. But the accident happened 7 years ago. So his memory of it was, when he was 69 years old. And then there's been some statements that there's some camera work. Somebody took like a movie camera of it, and there's a reference to it in an email, but no one has produced that. Now, if that was made by his side, they're going to say, well, you had evidence and you didn't disclose it in the trial. They may say that, no, you had control of that document. You should have produced it. It may be that nobody has control of it and that it's just a mystery and that whatever the reference was in the email. The case has apparently already been dismissed once and then it was refiled. They're both suing each other. She's basically suing for $1 and her attorney's fees. He's suing for, I think, about $300,000, which when you consider what it costs to litigate a case like this, but I think that part of it is, his reputation, her reputation, definitely, she doesn't want to be seen as not only a negligent skier, but as one who kind of wasn't concerned. That's kind of been one of the allegations, that she wasn't really concerned about him.
Right.
When
it's
the
a bad look
happened.
that after the accident, she, supposedly skied away with her party. So it sounds like if you can throw enough of a cloud over who was uphill and downhill, that the case becomes probably one of those cases that you just won't get a judgment in your favor on, right?
Well, they'll probably rule for somebody, or they'll have a hung jury. You can have a hung jury in a civil case too. They may settle. A lot of civil cases settle because after a while you spend so much on lawyers, and what's the real prospect of getting them back? At least according to the news coverage, she is thinking about calling the two children of the doctor, which I can say as a trial lawyer myself, former federal prosecutor, usually not a good idea to call as your witnesses somebody who's in the family of the other side, because they're going to zing you. They're not, you're supposed to ask them until they're taken as a hostile witness, which you often see in the movies or TV. You have to question them like any other witness. You have to ask them open-ended question, and then they can give you a little zinger back, or they can, my daddy was in such great shape until you hit him. He's not the man that he used to be. He suffered so much. He cried on my shoulder. And you think, wow, that was a great witness that I just called.
Wow, yeah, you could dig your own hole there. All right, quickly now to Trump. This, as you've mentioned before, and just to catch everybody up, I think you, and honestly, you were the first person I heard this from, and the first place I heard it, and that is that these should be federal charges that are brought against Trump, and instead we're seeing state charges that are stepping forward. I mean, so if a charge can step forward, but this first case is the least egregious probably of these crimes that Trump is going to be accused of. What's happening? Can you bring us up to speed? What you're anticipating, and then give us the state of the state, please.
Well, first I have until 22 minutes after, so we're not in that much of a hurry.
Okay.
The whole world is fascinated with this story. I was on London Times, the Times of London radio, drive time London this morning, because people are so fascinated with this case. And by the way, I heard you on KFI yesterday while I was driving around LA, and you were terrific. I'm not just saying that because I'm on your show. You were terrific. I sat out there in the rain and just listened to you for a while.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you so much.
Between noon and 1 yesterday, yes. Yeah. That's what 6:40 a.m. right down here in Los Angeles.
And in Los Angeles, right?
Yeah. So anyway, I've been really concerned about this. I never bought into Trump's rhetoric that the Democrats were out to get him. I thought that he committed so many crimes, he got himself, I think the New York Times had the 1,000+ lies that he told that they could document, and all the misconduct. And so I think it's ironic that this is playing a bit into his narrative. It's playing a bit into the Democrats just want to get me for something, and here is this Democratic elected a district attorney, and he's getting me on something that the feds didn't even want to pursue me for, because that is a real thing. And if I could just go back and do the Michael Cohen case just a little bit. First, Michael Cohen, his lawyer and fixer, wasn't only in trouble for this thing with Stormy Daniels and the hush money. He was in trouble for state tax violations. And at least according to the reporting, they had him dead to rights on underpaying his state taxes, which he could have been prosecuted in state court for. Michael Cohen could have been. He also did something with the taxi medallions, whereas taxi medallions were going down in value in New York City because Uber and Lyft were being used so much more, he continued to value the medallions at the same amount, which meant that he was going to banks and saying to banks, just like Trump did, in my opinion, give me $1 million, give me more than I'm entitled to because I have these really valuable medallions. And he wasn't properly valuing them. He was inflating them. So there was a lot of commentary at the time that Michael Cohen, rather than go to Rikers Island, where the controller of the company is right now on state tax charges, this Weisselberg, rather than risk going to Sing Sing prison, he said, look, I don't want to go this state route. Leave me alone on the state side. I will accept these federal charges. And so that is why the fact that Michael Cohen pleaded guilty to these federal charges involving the hush money and Stormy Daniels and the $130,000 that was mischaracterized doesn't necessarily mean even that he was so guilty. He wouldn't be the first person who ever pleaded guilty to federal charges because they didn't want to have state charges. They wanted to go to a nicer federal prison. None of them are nice, but they're nicer than Sing Sing. They're nicer than the state equivalent. And therefore, the fact that Cohen was so guilty, which everyone says, oh my God, if the messenger boy was guilty, certainly the guy who sent the message, Trump, ought to be guilty. Now, I believe Trump is guilty. I believe that if the federal government had a good charge against Michael Cohen, as it seems like they did, that as long as they got the underling, they should have gotten the guy who gave the orders. Having said that, I'm a federal criminal defense attorney, and sometimes it rolls my eyes that they'll bring my client in there. I've had clients who wanted to cooperate on like a Mr. Big, and I've had it where the government's been interested in having the underling cooperate against Mr. Big, and I've had it, Mark, where they weren't that interested. So I don't draw all the inferences that people do. And the main one that I draw is that while Barr certainly put the kibosh on that case at Trump's orders, in my view, so that they never went after conspirator number one Trump for this very nucleus of criminal facts that the DA is going after, that Trump gave the order to basically pay that hush money and then to cover it up by listing it as a legal fee when it wasn't a legal fee, and when Trump knew very well that he was breaking federal law and state law by doing that campaign violations, campaign contributions law. It does stand out to me as the most salient fact that when Merrick Garland becomes the Attorney General, and when he's had the 2 years, that he could have appointed a special prosecutor to look into this 2 years ago, or to have the Department of Justice under Merrick Garland prosecute Trump for this, he declined to do it. And so that is why having the DA come along and do something which is the same nucleus of criminal facts as to this payoff, this hush money, this mischaracterization of the records, it does not have a great smell to me. And the last thing that I've tried to emphasize with you about it is that there's a statute of limitations. It may seem very inside baseball, but the statute of limitations is a huge deal. Like in some of these Me Too cases, in some of these sexual harassment cases, they've prolonged the statute of limitations. And as long as they do it before the statute of limitations has run, it's a matter of public policy. Do you think that you should have a period of repose? And there's a time when you look back and say, no matter what I did in the past, unless I murdered somebody, it's in the past? Or do you allow a 20-year, 25-year statute of limitations? I think Bob Dylan just got sued for something he did in the late 60s. Is that really a good thing? And people say, well, yes, it's a good thing. You should pay the price if you commit misconduct. And it goes back and forth, all a fair debate. But there is a 5-year statute of limitations in New York. This happened 7 years ago. You're going to ask me, how can you go back to something 7 years ago? One theory is that during the pandemic, the governor of New York prolonged, that is, made longer, the statute of limitations, added about a year. But it looks like that's more in civil cases than criminal cases. But let's assume it was in criminal cases. So there was 6 years. It's not been 6 years. It's been 7 years. So the only way that a judge will not dismiss this case against Trump, if brought by the DA, is if the judge concludes that Trump was continuously out of state. Now, Mark, what does that mean to be continuously out of state? Because you're president, you're continuously out of state. I ask this question: is Senator Schumer out of state because Senator Schumer from New York works in Washington, D.C.? The president, at least at that time, the ex-president, was from New York, but was president in Washington, D.C. I just don't buy that he's continuously out of New York. Even after he left the presidency, I believe that he's going to have records that he landed his plane in New York, somewhere in New York. It might have been in New Jersey, but somewhere in New York, that he got driven into New York, that he stayed at Trump Tower in New York. And if a judge decides he wasn't continuously out of New York, guess what? A judge is going to throw that case out as fast as Trump gets fingerprinted and photographed in New York City, let's say next week. And I don't think that's going to be a good turn of events if it works out that way, Mark.
No, he's already benefited politically. He's gotten a bump from all of this. And it is a circus, David, and you're right. And if at the end of that circus, he just walks, it'll have been a waste, and a waste in so many different ways. And then finally, in our last couple of minutes with David Katz, to the rest of the cases, you still believe the Georgia case and the Jack Smith case, the January 6th case, the one that Smith's pursuing, that's a federal case. Those loom as much bigger legal threats, I would think. Or again, review for us where you see those.
They loom as huge legal threats. I was just at a fundraiser for Adam Schiff, who's running for Senate. People have written me and say, my goodness, you're not objective about that. I'm a commentator. I try to give people the emis on the law. If you went to a lawyer and you asked a lawyer, what is your opinion about such an issue? I try to give it. As I say, not right or left, just right, not wrong. So I try to give it right, not wrong. I also have political opinions like anyone else, and I worked with Adam Schiff in the U.S. Attorney's Office. We were contemporaries, colleagues, and I'm a supporter of his. Anyway, Adam even made that point the other night at the fundraiser, just 2 nights ago, which was that he regrets that the Attorney General didn't move faster on that. And if I can editorialize, I think that his committee and the compelling presentation that they made to the nation helped motivate Merrick Garland to get moving on the insurrection case, on the Trump's failure to secure the peaceful transfer of power. In fact, to do everything he could to thwart the peaceful transfer of power and to have a coup. That's what I think he did. I think he ought to be indicted for it. I think he gave an incendiary speech. He had others give those speeches. He said, go down to the Capitol. I'm going to be there with you. He meant for that to happen. I think that they can show that he knew that people were going there to do violence. And then he didn't tamp it down for over 3 hours. Once he saw on TV that violence was occurring, he could have tamped it down 5 or 10 minutes later. He waited hours and hours. In my opinion, he waited to see if it succeeded or failed, hoping against hope that it would succeed, that it would keep him in power. And only once he saw that the National Guard, the police really were showing up, despite, I think, efforts to thwart them from doing so, then he said, well, okay, go home. You're great patriots, but go home. That's what I think really happened. And I think he took those classified documents and I think he obstructed justice. I think that could all be one case against him. And I think it's really a pity if that case doesn't go first. I think it does play into Trump's hands if you let the weakest case go first. And I do think that of the 4 cases, because I think the Georgia case is also a righteous case against him, to let what is the weakest of the 4 go first. And then especially if he gets perp walked through New York City and he can sort of play that as a martyr, as a guy who the Democrats just want to get, I think that would be a mistake. But I think it is at least conceivable that the district attorney there, Mark, has come to that conclusion and is maybe slowing things down. Maybe it looks like that the classified documents case looks much stronger because the courts, the federal courts, just allowed his lawyer. People ask, how can the president's lawyer, ex-president's lawyer, be called against him? Well, he can because the courts found that the crime fraud exception applied, that Trump, more likely than not, was committing a crime with his lawyer, not going to his lawyer, Mark, for historical advice about something that happened in the past, but with the idea of committing a crime or fraud going forward, which was to keep the documents when he shouldn't have been keeping the documents and not giving them back and having this false certification done and all of that. I think there are 3 righteous cases out there. I just have some questions about the one in New York City over the hush money payment.
David Katz, everybody, go be on TV, you big TV star. Go ahead. See you. Thanks, David, so much.
Great to be with you, Mark.
Yeah, we'll see you next Thursday. Very, very cool for David Katz to work us in. I think it's very, very cool.
Do you feel it? It's the Mark Thompson Show.
Who's Mark Thompson?
Hey, which one of you is Mark Thompson?
Wow, how about that? David Katz making some really great points very quickly. Really appreciated his input. Yeah.
That was kind of creepy music, like Halloweenish.
It was Halloweenish. Yeah, it was. I'll tell you what's not creepy.
Mark's Madness.
I love it. What a classic matchup we've got going. It had to happen. It had to happen again. We were going to see only one of these moves on.
There's never been anything like this.
And I wanted to apologize to the Asian community, the Asian American community.
Either you vote for...
There's never been anything like this.
And I wanted to apologize to the Asian community, the Asian American community.
You vote now in YouTube or until midnight tonight in the community section of our YouTube channel. I know what I'd like to see move on, but I'm not going to say because I know you... watching and listening, there's a portion of you who like to see my dreams dashed, who like to see my picks lose, and who like to bring the pain.
Agents of chaos. That's
Thank
what
you.
We call them.
Agents of chaos. Very well. That's why you're the commissioner,
Albert. Thank you.
Yes. So
I also partake. Once my bracket breaks, Mark, I have one goal. That's to ruin those brackets at the top. Not just yours. Yes. If you happen to be up there, you're just a collateral damage at that point.
Again, I can't really remember. There's one person, of all the people who have brackets, there's one person who has a perfect bracket so far. Who is that person again, Albert, please?
I think we got to hit the. I think is it news time right now? It's almost the
This
bottom
is
of the hour.
ridiculous. Ridiculous.
How dare you?
I mean, really.
How would you handle this? We could try ignoring it, sir.
How dare you ignore the fact that I have the perfect bracket and I'm the only one with a perfect bracket?
Hey everyone, your vote counts. Okay, so let's keep on voting.
It's fantastic. Yeah, it is fantastic.
And it's
It
actually
really
Mark.
is.
It's actually very impressive. Your first 10 picks perfect on the Mark Thompson show. So it's. I think
know-
you're leading by example.
Look, you know me, I'm obsessed with trying to make the show better and I get frustrated and all this sort of thing. But I also know my audience and I want to give them what they want. That's where that frustration comes from. And when it comes to Mark's Madness, I am able to anticipate them because I feel as though I know them. I feel I am as one with the audience. And that's what gives me the ability to have a perfect bracket.
So what did you change from last year to this year? Obviously, something must have changed with your pick process, or are you going to keep that to yourself until the end of the season?
No, I will tell you that I thought about this is a very good question that the commissioner is asking.
Albert, thank you.
The question about and because I want this to go forward and us to learn, I thought about what things won. I did the Brett Burkhart. Remember Brett came on and said, oh, yeah, I thought about what things did well. And that's how I chose my brackets. Now, by the way, just because I mentioned Brett will join next week again. And we'll do the celebrity bracket review on Monday. The commissioner's office will go through those people who are higher profile, friends of the show, all of whom have brackets. Now, tomorrow, I think you have Michael Shore and Jim Avila, both of whom have brackets, right?
They do, so we could actually review those brackets with them.
Okay, so we'll do that tomorrow, and then we'll look at Spencer's, for example, and on Monday. But what I was going to end Brett's.
If Brett's here, does that mean I get the day off?
Brett is not here to do the news, Kim. And
His bracket will be here, and Brett's always with us in spirit. Brett was one of my number one supporters at that radio station we used to be at, so I take a little piece of Brett with me everywhere I go.
No,
that's it.
very,
I
very
quit.
nice.
I am out.
I got.
You know what, Cal? You created havoc and chaos.
You did. See what you've done there, Albert? Just settle
No, but Kim has been doing a great job keeping me Kim has moved up in my rankings. Like Brett is with the bad guys now.
Oh,
so. Can you let him finish?
Yeah. Oh,
See,
yeah. Okay.
now he's backtracking. This is how this goes.
Finish.
Yeah.
Okay. So, bottom line is, but I learned from last year's brackets and picks, and I applied some of what I learned to this year's brackets and picks. So I would encourage everyone. Now, just because I've had a perfect run so far, there also, as you know, Albert's 8-2, and there are a bunch of others 8-2, Sayo and others who have done really well. So I could blow up pretty easily.
There's a handful of 9-1s. Like there's a lot. There's probably more 9-1s than 8-2s right now. And
the last thing I'll say is that I started strong every year. I've started strong every year, and then I blow up. So it's very possible that I'm going to start strong this year and blow up. But again, right now, you vote for...
And I wanted to apologize to the Asian community, the Asian American community.
Or...
There's never been anything like this.
One or the other. Trump, never been anything like this, or I want to apologize to the Asian community. That's the Stephen A. apology. That's what's going on. When we come back, we're going to talk about the planet, the environment. I'll address a couple of concerns and stories that have been sent to us, and Belinda Waymouth with It's the Planet Stupid. Smash the like button like a boss.
Smash it with your iron rod.
Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister, and this report could be sponsored by you. If you're looking for a sponsorship opportunity, boy, do we have one available. You can email us at themarkthompsonshow@gmail.com. Let's talk about Alvin Bragg, the man who may indict former President Trump, is resisting calls to testify before Congress. Alvin Bragg said House Republicans' letter to him was an abnormal inquiry into a pending local prosecution. Meanwhile, Bragg's grand jury is meeting today, but they are not expected to discuss the case involving Trump and the alleged money paid to adult film actress Stormy Daniels. Archer is announcing its first commercial electric air taxi route in a partnership with United Airlines. Go back to my picture here. In a partnership with United Airlines, Archer, as the San Jose Aviation Company, will fly from O'Hare International Airport to Vertiport in Chicago. Yes. Wow. The two companies will use Archer's electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft as part of their urban air mobility network build-out. This is the future coming our way.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah, but Kamish, you're not a little bit nervous about taking the first few flights on Archer?
It is a little scary being the first ones to do it, but it's also very exciting, to be the first ones to do it. So, fingers crossed here.
All right, well.
I think you know what the problem is just as well as I do.
Yeah, that AI decides to land in the wrong place. You're in...
Everything is going extremely well.
I'm just thinking, be careful, Kamish. Don't get on
I'll
there
keep
too
my
early.
chat GPT ready in case they need me.
All right. I need you to land now.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
All right. Sorry.
They're saying it's going to be pretty expensive. I think the price point was $600 to fly from, wherever you live to your local airport. That would be, an airport taxi, basically.
Well, hang on a second, though. If you wanted to go from, Sonoma
right
to SFO, how much does that cost?
Well, if you rent a limo, a couple $100.
Okay, so really the only increased cost is $400 more.
I say that like I do it all the time.
Yeah,
and I never have.
Right. I think it would be about $200.
Right,
$175, $200. So we'll call it $200, and so it's $400 more to be flown to SFO, right?
Yeah, is it worth it?
Might be. I mean, if you have the money, you're one of those rich vintners or something,
Might as
it's
well
like
do
the
it.
LA people who ditch the traffic, just helicoptering over everything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, right. When you're caught in traffic on 101, right? All of a sudden you go, I'd pay $400 to be at SFO right now, right?
Yeah, no, just take the Archer. Take the Archer vertical lift and you're there in minutes. Boom. Yeah. Wells Fargo is increasing its prime lending rate effective today. The San Francisco-based bank prime rate will be 8%, up from 7 3/4. The rate bump comes after Fed Chair Jerome Powell increased interest rates by 0.25% in an effort to fight inflation. And as Mark was mentioning earlier, TikTok's CEO is being accused of spreading deadly content to teens and stealing American users' data. In a House committee meeting, the CEO took hits from both Republicans and Democrats as the U.S. considers banning the popular Chinese-owned app. CEO Xu Chu said the company is trying to move all U.S. data to domestic servers. He said China has never asked for data. The parents of the Oxford High School shooter in Michigan who killed 4 classmates, allegedly, can stand trial on involuntary manslaughter charges, that according to the Michigan Court of Appeals. A major professional services company is planning to eliminate 19,000 jobs. Accenture says the move will cost more than $1 billion in severance over the next year and a half. That company that's based in Ireland will also be consolidating its office space. And there is a new way to get an Uber. Users in 7 states can now call for a ride, and someone will actually answer the phone on the other end to help you reserve a ride. What? Yes.
What?
Expansion plans are in the works. So now you don't have to do it online. You can just call for an Uber. How you like that? How you like me now?
Wow.
Right? I think it's nice to have that human touch. Although if it's an AI on the other end of the phone, then
will they also turn down your ride audio wise? Like they call you like, yeah, I'm just gonna cancel this. You're too far. I
exactly.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Exactly.
Or if they heard me, they'd be like, I'm sorry, are you sick? Because we don't come pick up sick people.
Oh,
see what I mean? Yeah. This report could be sponsored by you. And of course, this show is crowdfunded. So if you would like to contribute, we would love you to log on to themarkthompsonshow.com. Check out the Patreon link, the PayPal link, and of course, the Super Chat is live and open here on The Mark Thompson Show. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
They had to close down an entire radio station to silence him. And now, he's here. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Thompson. The Mark Thompson Show.
What a good one we've got going today. We've had some really great people through. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for smashing the like button like a boss to give us the thumbs up. It costs you nothing. Helps us in the world of YouTube. A couple of people have asked, and I'll quickly get to Belinda, but I did want to answer it. People, where Steve Moskowitz is. Steve Moskowitz and our sponsorship relationship with Steve Moskowitz has wound down, as sponsorship relationships do. It was no hard feelings or anything weird. It's just that, all sponsorships, just like sometimes all relationships, begin to wind down, and ours did. And I, respect Steve Moskowitz immensely, and we still, we can hear Steve Moskowitz in other places, legacy media along the lines of KCBS, et cetera. So Steve's still out there, just that he does not sponsor the show anymore, and that opens sponsorship opportunities for others because he had really in us an exclusive sponsorship. That's the deal we made with him. So we turned down a lot of sponsorships along the way. So if you have a service or you have a company and you want to bring some visibility, we don't need any kind of long-term commitment. We're happy to give you a little pop on this show. We are a show with tremendous presence in the Bay Area and in California, and we're happy to include you. So again, if you have interest along those lines, it's themarkthompsonshow@gmail.com, themarkthompsonshow@gmail.com. We can go over costs and stuff like that. The real essence of the show, I've always felt, and there you see the email address there, themarkthompsonshow@gmail.com. The real essence is crowdfunding. We're really going to stay on the air or not stay on the air because of your Patreon pledges, because of your PayPal contributions, and because of Super Sticker Super Chat. So Patreon is probably the real great way to, on an ongoing basis, support us, or PayPal, either one. And for both, you go to themarkthompsonshow.com. You got to put the themarkthompsonshow.com in there. Otherwise, as I've told you, you end up at a ventriloquist website who's probably really good, but it doesn't help us. So themarkthompsonshow.com for Patreon and PayPal. If you're new, you throw something in. It's a great way to support the show and keep us on the air. We essentially are crowdfunded. Without the crowdfunding, we don't exist. And now without any sponsorship, we're completely crowdfunded. So,
and just, as you mentioned, Steve Moskowitz, I just want to express my complete gratitude for him helping us get this show off the ground. I mean, right off the bat, the minute KGO let us all loose, he was there trying to lift us up. So always, I will be grateful for that.
Very well said. All right.
The Mark Thompson Show.
The planet Earth.
Some call me nature.
I am very passionate about the planet
Earth. A living, breathing planet capable of sustaining whatever life forms we see fit to deposit on it.
Spock, judging by the pollution content of the atmosphere, I believe we have arrived.
It's the planet stupid. No. It's the planet stupid.
Our guide through things involving the environment is the eco-journalist. She is Belinda Waymouth, everyone. She's here on Thursdays at this time. Good morning to you. I have seen all manner of things that I wanted to ask you about. One of the things that we're not going to focus on this today, but I keep getting emails about the fact that, you had talked about the gas stove thing and the methane and, how bad it is. And, it's funny. I can't now stand near my gas stove without thinking about it. But last night, I'm watching YouTube and I'm hunched right there next to the gas stove. And the reality is, even with just the pilot lights on, right? Is that how, does it have a pilot light anymore or not? I know it has an electronic ignition.
It's burning where you can't see it underneath.
It's emitting something that's not good for me. Am I right, Belinda?
I'm afraid, yes, it is. Yeah. So don't be hunched over the stove, breathing in those, breathing.
Pretty stupid. Yeah, I felt like pretty dumb. But so they're asking for retrofitting eventually, and that the stoves, and then the GOP's out saying save gas stoves, and it's just become like a wedge issue. I do think that when you ask people to replace stuff on retrofit stuff, there can be buy-in from the public, but you do have to construct whatever legislative strategy there is to make people whole, or at least not put them in too big an economic hole. You'd agree with that, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And that's part of the Inflation Reduction Act. There's all this money to help people, when they want to change from a gas stove to an induction and get heat pumps in their houses. I mean, there's a lot of money that's been set aside for that. And one of the things that listeners really need to know is, the government isn't coming in and saying, you must replace your gas stove. This is when you decide you want a new stove. It's not, they're not deciding for you and mandating it, and then obviously if it's new construction, I mean, and there are lots of places, San Jose and different places, where you can't have gas hookups anymore. And, what the thing is, and what we have to sort of really focus on is that, our knowledge base is growing. When we started burning fossil fuels, we didn't know how bad they were. Unfortunately, the fossil fuel companies did work it out a long time ago, what we were doing to the climate, and then the awful thing with gas stoves is, the gas company, that was just like cigarettes. They advertised, they made us all believe that cooking with gas was vastly superior. I mean, I posted that crazy, it's on YouTube now, the ad, trying to make, cooking with gas sexy. And now influencers are being paid to do it on, soon maybe to be banned TikTok. And, so it's again, this thing that's happening. And, I read this thing the other day and it really resonated with me because, it was talking about how, we can have optimism about the future. And one of the things that this writer said is, pessimists look at news, optimists look at data. And the thing is, we have so much data right now that's telling us, about the nasties that come into your home when you're burning with gas that you don't even know about. And, the increased rates of asthma and all these things in children. And it's just not, make reality your friend. We have the data. And so we move forward with that. But it's really a bummer that the GOP, wants to politicize everything. I mean, it's, and get divisive about it. And, what's it going to be? Woke induction stoves. It's like, no, It's like we now know that this stuff is better for us. So
I see the arguments, when it comes to details and aspects of the legislation to make taxpayers whole on changes they have to make to their home. By the way, the older gas stoves do have pilot lights. I know I'm seeing in the the chat. They don't have pilot lights anymore. Yeah, I get it. The newer ones don't care, but a lot of older gas stoves do have pilot lights, and there are a lot of older gas stoves in homes. So it's both are true. But the demands that are being made on consumers, I think. The point I'm trying to make is details do have to be worked out, and I think some of the details are insufficient in terms of the sacrifices that have to be made. But it's nothing to do with the goal, which is to get rid of the gas that's going into homes and ultimately get rid of a lot of these appliances that run on the gas. It has to do with the details associated with it so that taxpayers don't end up on the hook doubly for having purchased some new appliance. Maybe it's a gas water heater or whatever it is, and they're not made whole for the adjustments that they have to make. I want to move on, though. I want to move on to some stuff that's happening along the coast. Yeah.
Big. Oh,
so, what's happening, and I mentioned this, I think, in our open. I didn't mention the specifics, but I said there really is potentially a contagion. 4 otters have died, and scientists are looking, that's here in California, and scientists are looking at what's killing them and looking toward this potentially now being another contagion that could actually make it into the human population. I wonder if you could speak to what it is and how that might happen.
Yeah. So we've got this severe, it's a rare parasite, and it has killed 4 otters. UC Davis scientists, on the case, and it's this Toxoplasma gondii. And the, here's the thing. I'm going to link it to what it needs to be linked to. And unfortunately, it's cats. And it's cats, whether they're domesticated or they're wild. And what happens is
Well, I love cats, so watch your step.
Yeah. No. I am going to, Mark, because, this is an animal that we love. But the awful thing about this, this nasty parasite is the only known animal where it can reproduce right now is in felids, so in cats. And then it gets passed out in their poop, feces, if we want to be technical and more scientific, which I know we do.
Thank you. Yes.
Yes. And then the awful thing about it is that once it's passed out of the cat, it can be infective in the soil for up to a year, and then in seawater for up to 6 months. And what they think happened in California is all these storms and all this runoff got this parasite, from, its terrestrial source and then into the ocean, and then it infected the invertebrates. So, what the otters are eating and what they're warning people about is, don't eat raw or undercooked mussels, oysters, crabs, and clams, along, our coast. And, this parasite I'm super, super aware of because we have it in New Zealand and it's killing. We have this really beautiful endemic little dolphin. It's called the Maui dolphin. We're down to, less than 50 of them. And they know it's because of cat litter. And, people get told over and over again, don't flush it down the loo. That's cat litter and it's toxic. And, people do, and we just have to be, super duper mindful.
Is that what's caused this in the otter population in California? Is that people are flushing cat litter down the loo, as you say?
Well, here's the thing. I don't think so, because this is the first. No. This is where they've, what scientists have linked it to in New Zealand. Like, how are we losing this, endemic, beautiful, tiny little dolphin? And it's really gorgeous. They look like the vaquitas, the little ones that are down in the Baja,
that
California.
are also endangered. I think they're down to like less than 20.
I was going to say less than 100, Mark. Come on.
No, I think there may be fewer than. Okay, I mean,
yeah.
I'm not going to argue with you about how many.
That's gillnet. That's gillnet. Yeah. Don't argue with me about how many vaquitas are there, please. But the thing, what they're saying in California is this is super recent. We've never seen it before in our waters, and they really are linking it to the storms and what is getting, washed off the land and into the ocean. And, being a surfer, this winter, usually the winter is a great time. I love surfing in the winter. I love cold water because I'm from New Zealand. I put on a thick wetsuit. I get out there. But no one's, well, if you're smart, you don't surf because all the runoff, into the ocean, the local, people who test the waters, Heal the Bay and other organizations say, hey, don't go in the water for 72 hours after a storm because of everything that gets washed off our streets, which includes, dog poop and all kinds of stuff. And now, we have these, big homeless encampments. So, you really think about it. I mean, when I was working at UCLA, scientists there were saying, forget about don't go in the water for 72 hours, 3 days, stay out for 10 days after a big storm. And so when you think of the massive amount of flooding and everything, the ocean is downhill from everything. So all the storm water heads downhill, carrying all these nasties with it. And that's what they're linking, this
the death of the otters too. Yeah, the toxic plasmosis. Yeah. And there into that population goes this thing that is, as you suggest, a contagion. It has moved into the human population before, that toxic plasmosis. As you've just said, it's usually in, as you've also said, in the fecal matter, but you would find it maybe in someone who has cleaned out the cat box and then didn't wash their hands sufficiently and made contact with the fecal matter somehow. I know historically that's been the issue, but this is bizarre because it's just, as you say, washing into the water that is occupied by these otters. Now it's killing them. And the thinking is the leap to the human population will be more indirect, and as a result, it does pose a threat.
Yeah. Look, this is the thing that, we've taken over the planet. Right now, 96% of mass of mammals on Earth 96%, Mark, is either us or the animals we have domesticated. So that means mere 4% of mammals is, everything from your elephants to your bats. Everything else is us. And, when you look at the bird population, 70% of birds on Earth now are domesticated. 70%, only 30 are in the wild. And of that 70%, most of them are, chicken, they're poultry. So when you think of, this enormous footprint we have, and then the enormous footprint that our domesticated animals have, we have to be more responsible. We're getting the data. So,
well, responsible is not something that we do particularly well, but thank you for the tip.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But let me. I wanted to point to I don't mean to skip over it. You're right. We have to look at that data. I mean, I think everything you say makes sense. I wanted to just point you to a good story, because I know you do. I always start with the negative. You always want to start with the positive. But there is a real positive story and a build back of an animal population. And it's right here in California. I wonder if you could speak to the recovery of the elephant seals.
Yes. So this is, we got a second chance with these animals. And this was through, guess what? Regulation. So the elephant seals are these incredible, 2.5, ton animals. And we were so into hunting them for their blubber, which we used as fuel. We hunted them to what looked like extinction. There was an 8-year period. So from 1884 to 1892, they weren't seen anywhere. No one saw them on the planet. We were like, oh, those babies are gone. So there are 2 lots of them. There are the southern ones who are even bigger, and they live around Antarctica. And then there are the northern elephant seals, and their territory is the Eastern Pacific. So they're seen everywhere from Alaska down to Mexico. So we had this 8-year period. We didn't see any of them. And the world said, okay, we're going to ban hunting elephant seals. They did. And then miraculously, they found this very small colony. It was less than 100 of them on the Guadalupe Island off Baja, California. And from that 100, and I could almost weep, it makes me like just sort of emotional that they were able to rebound. There are now 175,000 of these seals in the world. So we went from less than 100, in the space of just over a century. Yeah, it's amazing. And the incredible thing is that they're super close to us. Like, there are 3 big colonies of them when they're breeding that are close to San Francisco, a big, fabulous international city. And, within, a couple of hours drive, and, you can go up to Point Reyes and see them. You can see them, along the coast of, around Big Sur, San Luis Obispo. So they have bounced back, and this is through regulation. We banned hunting, and look what happened. It's a success story.
It really is. It really is. And it's and look, it's from an ecological perspective, it's a win. From doing the right thing perspective, it's a win. But it's also a win for the economics of California. And we always talk about the economy. Because tourists love seeing them, seeing these creatures, and they're in the wild. They're not at a zoo. It's a spectacular sight. It's an exciting sight for kids. It's an exciting sight for adults. So a terrific story. And then, as you say, it's regulations, it's protections imposed to bring back that population, and it's happened. Really, really great news. So we do end with something good. I hate to do that because I have a bleak, sad outlook about our future. But maybe I should reframe everything. Maybe I should rethink everything. Belinda, maybe our future is bright on this planet.
I think that it is, Mark. I think that it is. So yes, we do. When we use the data, we take that information and we use it in a sensible way. And look, the time is now. The time is now. Use all this data and make the right decisions.
Well, the last thing I would say is that the UN just issued a big report. And essentially the world's scientists are saying, guys, there's still a chance to stem this, but it would take an aggressive move. and they are asking for the developed countries, the world's most powerful economies, to make the move. Again, that's where I get pessimistic, or maybe you would say realistic, but that is something that the UN report does include, is a way out of this mess. I'm talking about global warming as the mess.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's like you and I were discussing last week. If we can, if the world can, the US being the number one, nation coming to the aid of Ukraine and sending them $112 billion in assistance. If the developed world can do for the planet what we're doing for one nation on the planet, do for all of mankind, humankind, actually, I'd like to say, we could get out of this mess. The technology, is there, and the ramping up with renewables is happening. And yes, there's a lot of chatter on the other side, but don't look at the news, look at the data, and get into action. And I always say, we're at our most spectacular as a species when we have a challenge, and when there is something that we recognize that needs an entire societal response to. And man, this is it. This is our moment.
It's just that we don't respond so well as a species because of a slow-moving threat. We do better with something along the lines of COVID. Oh my God, it's the alarm bell ringing now, but we sort of get used to this climate alarm bell. We're frankly becoming too accustomed to hearing it ring. But more on that in the days to come. You can find Belinda Waymouth here on Thursdays and across social media. Belinda Waymouth is Waymouth. Belinda, thank you so much for making time for us. Love talking to you.
Absolutely my pleasure. Thank you.
Belinda Waymouth, everybody.
More.
It's the planet stupid.
No. It's the planet, stupid. Next time, only on the Mark Thompson Show.
Yeah. So some good news and all of that, which I like. Yeah. Speaking of good news, we got a good one going, bitches.
Mark's Madness.
You know it. Commish. Tell everybody, either vote for...
And I wanted to apologize to the Asian community, the Asian American community.
The Stephen A. apology or the Trump...
There's never been anything like this.
Yeah, this is a tough one to call. Who goes on the next round? Either...
And I wanted to apologize to the Asian community, the Asian American community.
Or...
There's never been anything like this.
You can vote now, and you can vote till midnight in our channel in the community section. I don't know. Kim, I ask you. You don't have a bracket, but you do have a pick, I'm sure. Who
It's
do
a really
you think
good matchup.
will move on? Yeah,
It's really
this
hard.
is a real tough one.
I'm going to say there's never been anything like this.
There's never
been anything like this.
You think that will beat out Stephen A?
And I wanted to apologize to the Asian community, the Asian American community.
Yeah, I think
Maybe. I don't have a good feel for this.
Really?
56% of the chat agrees with Kim here. So it's looking
so
pretty good.
Ahead, and usually the early voting does determine it. So in early returns...
There's never been anything like this.
See, I know my people. I know them.
Trump is ahead. And the Asian community...
And I wanted to apologize to the Asian community, the Asian American community.
The beauty of my situation is I literally don't remember who I picked to go ahead.
We'll find out tomorrow when we have the results.
Yeah. I really do not remember. But I'm looking forward to the results. Will be shared immediately.
Seriously, what the
out the top. I know. I can't believe I don't. Let me put my credibility glasses on here to recognize some of the special people who help keep this program on the air. Among them, Wes. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Wes, for $10. Imagine the AI in a Boston Dynamics robot. Exactly. Scary. We were talking about it with Rich Demuro in the last hour.
I feel like we don't have to imagine anytime soon. I feel like it's slowly coming, and I've been so against this.
I know. It does feel as though our time could be taken by the robots.
Can't we take other cool things from other movies?
Yeah.
Instead of the robot stuff?
Yeah. I think the robot horse is out of the barn. Kathy Crowell for Kim and her upcoming demotion.
So sad. Thank you, Kathy. I feel you. I appreciate that.
Oh, I love it. Big Dan Ashley shout
Big
out.
shout out.
Yeah. Thank you, Kathy. Gary D. $19.99 for Kim and the commish. Great job, guys.
Big shout out.
Big shout out. Yes,
Thank
I'm
you,
not
Gary
going to
D.
cry,
I'm not gonna cry.
but it was moving how you stepped up, Kim.
Well,
You were doing so well until you totally
blew it.
blew it.
Yeah.
The Nikki Maduro show is next. TikTok hearing. Comedian podcast. Oh, this is your booking from yesterday.
Well, I was
Now
trying to
going-
get him on your show, but then I couldn't, so I bumped him over to Nikki's show.
I am.
How would you handle this?
See
We
how
could
I
try
do?
ignoring it, sir.
Now I'm really
gonna ignore
demoted,
it.
Kathy.
I
Now I'm
am
really
telling
going
you
down.
what,
You know, they do this
we
to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do it for.
love getting your leftovers, Kim. Love getting your leftovers. Listen. Look, if you want to go to Nikki's show full time, just do it. All right. You don't have to, it's killing me.
Well, you're already bringing Brett back. So, I mean, at this point, what's left for me here on the Mark Thompson show?
Oh, I hate to hear that. I love my Kim. I don't want her to leave.
Oh, I'd never leave you, baby.
Oh, my gosh. It's a rough room, though, when you come out of this show, baby. We're a rough crowd.
Yeah.
All right, so here's what's going to happen. Tomorrow, terrific Friday show. Friday Fabulous Florida. Politics with Avila and Shore. Snyder, the culture blaster, will tell you what to watch this weekend. We'll go through the comments section, see what we can find. Maybe we'll relate those to you. We'll update Mark's Madness. We'll update the celebrity brackets of Mark's Madness. Next week, the award-winning writer of Captain Phillips, Billy Ray, will join us, along with a check of the brackets that Spencer Christian and others have. We'll do the celebrity check-in. Much to do, and tomorrow's a great show.
I'm Shadow Stevens for the Mark
Yes.
Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
Kim and Nikki over on the Nikki Maduro channel.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody. Till tomorrow. Bye-bye.